Welcome to the Pulse of Jonesboro. I am your host. I am Jeremy Terrell, and I appreciate you tuning in. Today we are going to talk about a few topics, and I just want to talk a little bit about each of them. But we're going to talk about the fight that happened downtown. We're going to talk about the property deliberation for Caraway in Washington, and then kind of how we move forward with Jonesboro. What do we do, and what does that look like in moving Jonesboro into the next phase of whatever it is? So let's start with the property deliberation. Currently, which I think we all are kind of on whatever page we're on, and when I say property deliberation, I mean, does the E911 Center, which is this elaborate camera system that we have through Jonesboro, whether it stays and we purchase land on Caraway, or we use the land that we own down on Washington, where the Justice Department and all that stuff was. You've heard me talk a little bit about the raising of the property value on the last episode. You heard me talk about, the safety aspect and kind of the pros about why it should go downtown versus on Caraway. The one on Caraway, I mean, it's closer to ASU. ASU has their own police department. Aside from that, the majority of the crime is downtown and then, kind of dispersed throughout the city. So as far as timing to anything, it doesn't matter a whole lot with what location it's at. But it does matter to downtown, especially if we're going to continue with, and I believe we are, but the way that downtown is growing and kind of what the organization down there is doing to promote and continue to promote downtown, which I agree with, continue to promote downtown, all that you want, but we just got to make sure that it's safe. So here's the biggest issue that I have, and that is the amount. Now, I have other issues, and I believe if you're going to push downtown and continue to push downtown, which we want a great downtown, but you surround it with the opportunities to make sure that it's always safe, that it's always clean, it's always whatever. And putting the police department 2-3 blocks from the main street is freaking phenomenal, in my opinion. So, but the amount, you guys heard me talk about the amount. The amount is $1.5 million to purchase the land on Caraway. The other thing is that there's a $300,000 estimated road. I was involved in putting the road to nowhere down off of Dan Avenue several years ago. That was going to go to the sports complex. So it's a road to nowhere. But that road, I know, cost more than $300,000. That thing was $400 plus. So anyways, with that being said, let's just say it's $3 million, because that's the estimate. So you're looking at $1.8 million. There's some other stuff that the seller has requested. So I'm going to round that up to $2 million. Okay. So when you average that out per acre, that is $880,000 per acre. $880,000 per acre. That is robbery. There's nothing in Jonesboro that's just property, like just no buildings, no nothing, just property that's even close. Not even close. The prime, pristine place to be to buy and build anything that you're doing in Jonesboro is like $150,000 per acre, $150,000 per acre. The city is asking us to spend $800,000+ per acre. And that's right. You heard me say it. The city's asking us, the taxpayers, to be okay with buying land at $880,000 per acre. Now, a couple things that really crazily frustrates me to death on this deal. One is the city council men and women that have not scratched their heads, and there are a few that have done this, but there's a few that haven't and scratched their heads and say, wait a minute, what is it per acre? What are you asking us to do? No way. Like, at a principle alone, nothing else, at a principle alone, there's no way we should spend this amount of money. Period. It's just it's a no. And the other thing is that is literally shady as all get out. Number one, who negotiates for the city? Because they need to be fired. Or maybe they do a great job wherever else, but they don't need to negotiate anymore for the city of Jonesboro. They do not need to negotiate pricing for the city anymore, which makes me scratch my head, because we keep having all of these, hey, we're going to get the bus. We're paying $1 million for the people to tell us what to do with our bus system and integrate this, blah, 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 blah. Hey, we're getting more cameras, for the E911 center. It's going to cost blah, 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 blah. We're getting more buses. We're getting this. We're getting that. All of this stuff. Oh, we're paying, another company $1 million or $800,000 or $700,000 to, tell us what to do with our roads, which we've already been told to do whatever. Anyways, who's negotiating all of those? Are we getting the best bang for our buck? I don't know. If we're willing to spend $800,000+ per acre, we as taxpayers, we absolutely 100% should know, are we getting the best for our buck? Are we negotiating? Are we having bids? Are we taking bids? Are we seeing what else is out there? It doesn't sound like it in a lot of cases. It really doesn't. It's kind of like the trucks we purchased not too long ago. We didn't do a bid because we bought a couple from this one and a couple from this one and a couple from this one. Well, how do we know we got the best possible prices? I mean, why would we do that? Why would we not ask Chevy, Ford, and Dodge to all bid? Like, I don't care if we get a couple of each. Why don't we ask them to supply everything if they can come up with the best price and save us money? And, our city government and our city council, specifically our city council, is supposed to make sure that the city is spending our money wisely. So that's my biggest condition on this entire thing. This may not even be an issue had the mayor came to the city council and said, hey, we've got 2.5 acres for $125,000 per acre on Caraway. And then if you did all of the math, it probably would have been a whole lot closer than what it currently is. So I believe that if the city council passes this, we need an investigation on all of the communications between everybody involved and where the money's going. And I would even beg to say, we want this every year for the next 4 years to see if money goes anywhere else. Because who in their right minds, like, guys, this isn't, I don't even know what to think, because this would not happen in any other form in Jonesboro, except for the city buying property I'm not saying there's anything nefarious. It just looks nefarious, like crazy nefarious. The dude was selling the entire 12 acres of property for $2 million. So do the math. And nobody bought it. It's been for sale for 15, 20 years. Nobody's bought it. And now they want to sell a very small section of that 12 acres for darn near the same amount. And nobody should be okay with that. If the city council says yes, we should demand it anyways, but we should demand the paper trail anybody involved, where all the money goes, how it's used, everything. 100%. It's crazy. That's ripping you and me off. You 100% are ripping us off if you buy land for $880,000 an acre. And whoever the negotiator is on this deal needs to never negotiate another deal for the city ever again. Ever. Period. And maybe that's harsh. I don't know. But like as a citizen who pays taxes, it's like, that's frustrating. It's crazy frustrating. And we shouldn't allow it. We just 100% as a citizen should say, no, you're not spending, I said it's 4 times, but that's 6 times plus more than any other property in Jonesboro. It's crazy. So crazy to me. So, and then the area, I have great friends that are police officers and or have been police officers. I think it's the toughest job in Jonesboro to be a police officer. 100%. I think you guys have heard me say it over and over and over and over and over again. I think that we need to make sure that they get the best of the best. That means the best training. That means the best treatment. That means the best, whatever it is, the best protection. Whatever it is, the police department deserves the best of the best. And I believe that, that we need to move into phase 2 incredibly fast. I don't know why, to be honest with you, I don't know why they haven't talked about that and made arrangements, but, we're too busy building sidewalks. And I know that makes people mad, but like our police department has been crazily split all over the place. They operate out of hand-me-downs and they get the worst of the worst for 20 years. And, this is, people are like, well, why are you so mad about sidewalks? And why are you so mad about this and buying that? It's like, because who can foresee a building being unoccupied and that we have to tear it down and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars getting rid of it and we can't occupy it anymore? Well, the government should. Like that's life. That's what happens. You should have the foresight to say, hey, here's our rainy day fund. And we're going to use this rainy day fund to make sure that, anything that comes up catastrophic, we can deal with. Now, I've been told that we have $30 million in the rainy day fund. Okay. If that's correct, then I'm all for phase 2 being pulled out of there. The estimate is like 10 million. So I'm all for pulling out of the rainy day fund and putting it over there and giving them the facility that they deserve. 100%. Because keeping Jonesboro safe is the number one thing that the government should do. Period. To keep it safe. So we need to treat the men and women that do that at a level that they deserve, and we should move forward with whatever it takes to make that happen. But with that being said, when I say whatever it takes to make that happen, sorry, I just hit my camera. Whatever it takes to make that happen means responsibly. Like, we're not going to go spend exorbitant amount, $800,000 per acre to make that happen. We're going to do it correctly and make sure that the taxpayers are also represented. So there's a balance in everything. The balance in whatever it is that we do in the city, it should be balanced. And are the taxpayers represented? Let's do the best thing for whatever it is that we're doing. Okay? As long as those two things are being met, we're accomplishing what needs to happen. And, I had a discussion with a couple of leaders the other day, and some other stuff. And I said, listen, if the taxpayers are taken care of and their needs are met, you never lose. You never lose. You can't tell me one incident, and there may be some minute incident out there in the world, but I don't think so. But if you're taking care of the taxpayers and you're making sure that they're represented, you can't go wrong. And that's just the truth. So, City Council, take care of the taxpayers. Represent the people in your districts. Do not, under no circumstances, if you want the property, if you're so adamant about the property being on Caraway, then you better go back to whoever negotiated and you say, get that price down to $125 per acre. Or don't buy it. Do not buy this at $880,000 an acre. That would be insane. I know a lot of people that are ready to run against anybody and everybody that votes for $880,000 per acre. And people want to say it's downtown versus Caraway. It's not. It's just being responsible with taxpayers' money. Be responsible, period. Period. So there's that. So let's move on to the fight downtown. Here's what's interesting about this fight, and this is touchy subject. But you guys know here on the Pulse, we are going to talk truth and facts. And if I don't know the facts, I will say I don't know. Here's my opinion. But here's the facts. This did happen somewhere around between 1:30 and 2 o'clock, give or take a little bit. So I think it was over by 2. Contrary to what people say, there's a ton of pictures out there and tons of videos. The majority of these people did have wristbands on. Now, with that being said, does that mean that this was the cause of the entertainment district? No. Was the alcohol involved the cause? Who knows? I would hope so, actually. Because if the alcohol wasn't involved, then we have a much bigger problem than that. So if from the videos that I've seen and people have sent me, different angles, different people videoing, I mean, it's all over the place. We're going to be nationally recognized again, just to let everybody know. People were running around the corner, not having a clue about what was going on or what the fight was about, and throwing licks and punching people. And, you know, it's, unfortunately, this was black and white fighting each other. From what I have been told, that this was a conversation where one guy called a girl the B word, and one of the guys that got beat up. A lot of people got beat up if you look at the video, but 3 guys got really beat up. 2 are in the hospital. We may talk about that a little bit. So they ran. Several ran after them. The next thing I know, people are even pulling over the cars. Hopefully we get all of the videos. Here's another thing. I don't see one city camera right around there. My belief is if we're going to continue this entertainment district, we better have cameras everywhere that we can see every angle of downtown for the safety, the streets for sure. So, but they run to the kind of going toward the parking lot that the city wants to donate to St. Menard's for a park. Anyways, they make it to Church Street on Kate, and that's where everybody was caught and or it just started going down. So one man was knocked out and then kicked in the head, stomped on the head several times, and he is the one that's in a coma, hasn't woke up yet. So tomorrow will be, 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, Saturday, will be an entire week that someone's in the coma over this situation. The other guy, these 2 brothers are the one that got the worst of it. He's got broke ribs, broke wrist, cracked vertebrae, bruises, scrapes, shoulder blade, I think, is fractured. not sure what else. And that's from being kicked while you're on the ground, stomped while you're on the ground, multiple people taking whacks at you, things like that. And that's a shame. It's an absolute shame. Now, I'm kind of that old school guy. Like, when you're growing up, you're going to have a couple fights. Not everybody, but they're going to happen, right? And a couple of those fights, one-on-one, where you're, in the mix, and then you're done, and everybody says I quit or whatever, and everybody goes their own way. Sometimes, most of the time, actually, they make up, and usually when those types of things happen, that's what happens. When you have a mob mentality, which is what happened. Nobody was even talking to the people that ended up in a fight. It was between a girl and a guy, and to my knowledge, which is not much, but it is listening and talking to people that were there. It was a lighthearted conversation for the most part, and I think the girl said, "You don't know nothing about that," and the boy said, "B, you don't know what you're talking about," something to that effect. So, and then a bunch of guys just ran after the other guys. So, here's my biggest concern, and I think only a couple that were arrested. One was from Jonesboro. The rest were not. I don't think that matters in the great scheme of things, but I do know that there was way more than 5 people plus the 2 people that are in the hospital. Way more than 7 people involved in this. Way more than 7 people. I don't know how many were throwing punches or who was kicking or stomping or any of that stuff. I don't have a clue on that one, but I do know that it wasn't, hey, let's have a fight, and then, there's a winner and a loser and people walk away. This was, hey, I'm going to beat you till you're down and out, and lots of videoing and lots of laughing and lots of like, oh, and then if you look at the comments on these areas where it's posted, it's pretty shameful. And this is to my point. In this world, it's not Jonesboro. Thank goodness Jonesboro's this is, the only one of its kind at this point in time. And let's pray that this is the only one of its kind. And, but in this world, we have lost, and when I say we, I just mean, kids mainly. And these weren't even kids. I mean, these were 21 plus year olds. Some of them, one of the ones injured was 42, I think. And, the other one's, the one in a coma is like in his 30s. And I believe probably the others are late 20s, maybe mid 20s. And I think there's a couple of younger ones. So again, with all that being said, it's like we're losing the respect for life. Like, there's a really good chance one of these guys don't ever wake up. And if he does, he may have brain damage for the rest of his life. I mean, really good chance. And he's not even the one that said anything. That's horrifying. Jonesboro's better than that as a whole. And here's the deal. You're not welcome in our town. Even if you live here and this is the type of mentality that you have, you're not welcome here. And that's the way that as Jonesboro, we should 100% make sure everybody understands that we are a town that this type of thing will not happen in. And I haven't heard really any statements definitely didn't hear anything from the mayor. I don't know why. It's really sad, actually. The chief has come out and given us a little bit of like information, but no statement. And the statement should be this: this will not be allowed in Jonesboro, Arkansas. If something like this happens, you will go to jail for a very long time, and you will not be allowed back in our restaurants, our places of shopping or any of that stuff. If you come to town and this is the antics that you do, or if you live here, you're not going back downtown or into these facilities. So people may say that that's too harsh or whatever. I don't know. I really don't care. Here's the deal: is that we are a community that is better than that, and if we don't make the statements like that, then we may end up not staying that type of community, and that's just the facts. So anybody that says, "Oh, that's just part of it," or any of that stuff, you're wrong. And if anybody says this wasn't a big deal, you're wrong. And if anybody says, anything to the contrary of other than this is not our town and we will not accept this type of whatever happened. We will not accept this type of actions ever in Jonesboro. And if you do it, the consequences will be great. And everybody needs to get on that page. Everybody. So I encourage each and everybody that is listening to this, that this matters to, they need to reach out to their local officials and make sure that is what is conveyed to anybody that comes into Jonesboro and anybody that lives here. So this type of thing does not happen here. And if it continues and it happens again, everybody, the people that did it, everybody should be punished at a level that's way higher than I mean, they could have killed somebody. I mean, one guy is fighting for his life in the hospital because he got knocked out, stomped on, kicked in the face. Another guy stomped on, kicked in the face, kicked in the ribs, could have had massive internal bleeding, things like that. I think there is some bleeding in the lungs. I'm not sure what that even means, but so there's that, and that's a shame. And there'll probably be way more information on that one. And here's the final thing. So I want to talk a little bit about what it looks like to move Jonesboro forward. Okay, I want to talk about the political climate. I want to talk about who you surround yourself with. If you're a leader in our city, I want to talk about how we just do the same thing over and over again. I want to talk about the committees and things that are involved in Jonesboro. So let's start with the political climate. The political climate is bad. And I'm not gonna lie, I probably have a little bit to do with that. I'm pretty demanding and I'm pretty in your face and I'm pretty much like, hey, do a better job. I got to figure out how to work with the people I disagree with. And I'm trying really hard to do that. The problem is they don't want to work together. So I'm here. Most of the people know how to get a hold of me. I'm available. Reach out to me. Let's sit down and see if we can't be a teammate on a lot of the stuff that I believe we're doing in the wrong direction. But that's the climate these days. I just feel like we are going in the wrong directions. I feel like we are being more. We've kind of succumbed to kind of what's happening throughout the nation, and that's not good. Years ago we used to be able to just come together and find common ground, and then we moved on to the common ground. That's not happening anymore. Some of the things is we get stuff shoved down our throats, and instead of like bringing people to the table to talk about the things, and I'm not saying that people aren't brought to the table, which kind of brings me to my second thing is I think people are being brought to the table to discuss movements of Jonesboro. I just don't think that we're bringing people from all different sides. I don't think that we're bringing people from that number one that'll speak up on both sides, pros and cons of each. I don't think that we're bringing people that'll push the envelope and get people to think about the direction that they're going. I don't know this to be true, but I believe, and I'm just looking, but I think that we bring people to the table that are going to agree with whatever's happening. And that never, ever gets anywhere. That's what I mean when I talk about a small representation of Jonesboro. you have to have every walks of life. You have to have, people that agree, don't agree. You have to have things, and you bring them together and you talk about what it is that you want to accomplish. And then at the end of it, you have some form, and not everybody's going to win, not everybody's going to lose, but if you compromise and or win and lose some, then everybody's being represented. And it's time to move the needle on that. We do the same thing over and over again in this town. The same thing. We put the same types of people on the committees. We put, aside from whether we like downtown or not. And again, I want downtown to succeed, but I know that there's a lot of people that are, anti-downtown. I think that, there's some things that I don't 100% agree with downtown, but I do want it to succeed. But you cannot deny that the Downtown Alliance is not killing it. They're doing some great things. Now, I don't know if it's like-minded people either, or if they bring some people in that are contradicting one another so that, you get the best of everything. But, they're new and great ideas and things like that, and they're pushing their agenda forward, and it's working for them. But we need that representation everywhere. We need that representation, Caraway Stadium. We need that representation in our neighborhoods. We need that representation throughout Jonesboro. And, I know our city council is some of that, but even there, they, a lot of the times it's just a rubber stamp. People are afraid to say something because what happens there too is when somebody says something, man, you may get attacked if you don't agree. And that's just wrong. We should be okay with not agreeing. We should be okay with having a different point of view. And, these days it's like, if you have a different point of view, you're enemy number one, or you're crazy, or you don't know what you're talking about. You're dumb as all whatever. Just because you have a different point of view. And, the world is so divided, and I don't want Jonesboro to be that. I have some of my dearest, you guys hear me say this all the time, some of my dearest friends, we don't see eye to eye politically. One is a Democrat, one is an independent, one, and, I'm pretty dang conservative. But man, we love one another. We love, having lunch and eating together. We love being with each other and talking and laughing. And, that's okay. That's okay. But we'll each give our shirts off of our backs for one another, 100%. And, anybody needs anything, we'll call each other and say, what do you, I'm here for you. What is it that you need me to do? And that's great. That's a world that we need to live in instead of this, divide. And I'm enemy number one in several different areas, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. It sucks, but I'm okay with it because I speak up my mind, and I represent a lot of different people. There's been other times where, I've been on the school board and I was fighting for the teachers and fighting for the kids, and some people didn't like that. And, asking questions, why are we not moving the needle? What is going on? Who's responsible? What's the background of the people that we're hiring? Why are we hiring them? What's their qualifications? And people are just like, you can't ask those questions. And I'm like, that's the exact questions I'm supposed to ask, same within the city currently right now. It's like, I get up there and I say, hey, $800,000 per acre is crazy. And people are mad at me. People don't want to have anything to do with me because of things like that. Just represent the people. Just listen to the people. Hey, I'm one of them that you represent. Just listen. Don't always be a rubber stamp. Use your brain. Everybody on the city council should look at that price and say, that is stupid. That's no. That's a no, big fat N-O. And we don't have to agree on that. Maybe some of you guys are like, well, that's okay. We can, spend 7 times, the taxpayers' money. Hopefully you won't be there very long, but that's your prerogative. My prerogative is to come there and say, you're wrong. and then you do with it what you want. But we can't do that. I walk in the door or city council meeting, and some of the people in there are my friends for sure, but then there's other ones that are like, oh crap, Jeremy's here. I don't want to hear from him. Is there any way we can turn his mic off, not let him allow him to talk or whatever? And that's not the way, anybody wants to come on this podcast, come on the podcast. I will interview. We can bring any topic you want. Come on the podcast. Anybody. I don't care who it is. We can debate. We can do whatever it is that you want to do. Come on. I'll come to you. We'll set it up. It doesn't matter. We can do a Zoom. Whatever you guys want, we'll interview. We'll have a debate. We'll do whatever it is. And I promise you, I'll be respectful. I may giggle a little bit. That makes people mad. I'm sorry. It's just kind of the way I do, but at the end of the day, we'll have a civil conversation about the topics and the issues. So come on. If you disagree with me, get a hold of me. Come on. The last thing I want to talk about is like our committees and stuff around town. You guys have heard me kind of get on the chamber and things like that. I'm not getting on the people in the chamber. I know some people personally in the chamber. I think they're phenomenal people. I think that some of them are just good people, and they only want what's best for Jonesboro. But we've had the same nucleus of the board for I can't tell you how long. That's got to change. We have other committees in Jonesboro, same thing. That stuff's got to change. We have to bring new faces, new ideas, the opposition to the ideas. All of that stuff has to be brought to the table. And we have to start there's times that I'm just dead set on something, and then I have a conversation with somebody and I'm like, whoa, I didn't even think about that. And it makes me go, oh, wait a minute. I was wrong on that. Believe it or not, that happens. But it happens, and that's because I surround myself with people that'll challenge me, that'll push me, that'll give me insight, and things that I don't even think about. I have had a debate with a friend of mine about the Caraway Road versus the Washington, and she's got some unbelievable reasonings behind it, and I agree with them. My biggest thing is the amount. We probably wouldn't be even having this conversation if it wasn't for the amount. Maybe we would, but it wouldn't be such a big, huge deal. So committees, chamber, other people in town, the city especially, bring other people in. Don't just continue to get like-minded people. Don't just put committees together that are going to go along with what you say. Don't stop. It's kind of like the library board, put every demographic and every mind that you can on the library board. Just do that. That should be the way that we operate. Make sure everybody's represented. Not one set or the other, not more left, more right, not more this, more that, not who freaking cares? Just people that want what's best for the library, not an agenda, not anything else, just what's best for the library, and freaking put those people on there. The problem is everybody's got an agenda. Everybody's got an agenda. I got an agenda. My agenda is, let's be more freaking conservative with taxpayers' money. Let's spend it wisely. Let's take care of everybody in Jonesboro, not just a small percentage. Let's take care of the north side, the south side, the east side, the west side, the central. Take care of all of them. Freaking do the roads, blah, blah, blah. You guys hear me all the time. But represent and bring people that represent everybody. Those on the city council, you represent your district. Go find out what they want. Do that. That would blow my mind, actually, if the city council started having, I think they ought to have quarterly town halls, every one of them. You know, I would love to have that in the freaking bylaws, man. Like quarterly town halls in the bylaws. That would be fantastic. Go find out what your constituents want. Go find out. And then that's what you represent when you go in and vote. And then guess what? You can say, hey, I did a poll in my neighborhood and this is what we want. And if you vote that way and I disagree, my hands are tied. That's what your constituents want. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to represent the people who elected you. And the problem is in Jonesboro, again, is we don't pay enough attention. I get it. There's not enough involvement. I get it. And that's why you're doing what you do. That's why you don't have a town hall and you just do what you believe you want to do because you know best than the people that you represent. So that's my spiel for the day. Guys, I appreciate you taking the time to listen, to follow, to share. Man, we've had some great videos out there that have really touched a lot of people. We are moving the needle. Man, you know, at some point in time, we're gonna change the trajectory. We're gonna make sure that you and I are represented regardless, and we won't stop the fight until that happens. So, guys, have a great week. We will see you next time. Remember to like and share wherever you're watching this, and take care. God bless.